Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new theory and speculation video. Today, I want to talk about King Deshret, and speculate on if he could still be alive somehow. Even though we learned a lot about Deshret in Sumeru, there are still a lot of mysteries surrounding him, including the matter of his death. Now, this video does contain spoilers for the quest listed on screen now, so if you haven't done those, you have been warned. With all that said though, let's get right into the video. Before I get into the theories though, I want to cover King Deshret's story so far and what we know about him. So let's go back to the very beginning of his story. Long ago, King Deshret was known as a son of the sky, and as such, he was worshipped by the three great tribes of the desert. Despite this, he had no knowledge of the three moon sisters or the era of the Seelie, which means he likely came after that era. At some point, Deshret would meet the goddess of flowers and a survivor of the Seelie, Nabu Malikata. Together, the two would build the city of Ai-Khanum for the Jinn. In the language of the Jinn, this name means City of the Moon Maiden. Now, Deshret did have feelings for Nabu Malikata, but it is unknown if she ever reciprocated them. The two would remain as friends, and eventually they would meet a third god, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata. Deshret, the strongest of the three, allowed the other two to share his throne, and they became known as the three eternal companion gods. Around this time, Celestia wanted to give a gift to King Deshret, likely a gnosis, but he rejected this gift. You see, Deshret had strong ambitions, and he was even willing to rebel against the heavenly principles to fulfill these ambitions. Soon, he would share these desires with Nabu Malikata, who was hesitant of his ideas at first. Eventually though, she decided to help him with his plans. On the other hand though, Rukkhadevata did not support these plans. As such, she left the other two and went to a corner of the desert. Here, she would create the Varuna contraption and the rainforests of Sumeru, which she would rule over until her death. Getting back to Deshret though, he would work with Nabu Malikata for some time on his plans. However, she would soon sacrifice herself in a ritual, leaving Deshret alone to mourn her. After her death, he would go to the Jinn. Instead of telling them the truth though, he lied, saying that Nabu Malikata was just in deep slumber. He promised the Jinn that if he was allowed to borrow their power, he would find her again. After gaining their power, Deshret went searching for the divine Nail of the Sands. Upon finding it, he used its power and the aid of the Jinn to build the Eternal Oasis as a gravesite for the Goddess of Flowers, leaving the genie Ferrages to watch over it. After all of this was done, Deshret planned to establish a vast kingdom in the desert. He wanted to build a utopia free of worry, schemes, and slavery, where no one could get hurt. However, the location he wished to build in was part of the Dendro Sovereign Apep's domain, leading to the two of them having a meeting. In this meeting, they made a deal, which allowed Deshret to build his kingdom in Sumeru's deserts. For Apep's part of the deal, they would be allowed to consume King Deshret after his death to absorb all of his knowledge. The two both agreed to the deal, so Deshret went on to establish his rule. Now, due to Rukkhadevata leaving and Nabu Malikata passing away, the kingdom they had once ruled over had split into numerous warring tribes. Seeing this, Deshret would send the Jinn as his envoys to find suitable humans who would act as vassal kings and priests, who would then guide others to follow Deshret. One of these envoys was the genie Lilupar, who found a suitable human named Ormazd. Together, they went on to establish the grand city of Gurabad. However, due to Lilupar's feelings of betrayal, the city didn't last very long. If you want to know exactly what happened, I did make a video on Gurabad's lore quite recently. After Gurabad fell though, Deshret would split Lilupar's spirit into 7 parts for her role in the city's collapse. Additionally, Gurabad's fall led King Deshret to further his research into taboo knowledge in order to obtain his desired utopia. His desires had already been accelerated by the death of Nabu Malikata, and he slowly became more and more absorbed by nostalgia and obsession. According to the Lay of Alamar, Deshret became so engrossed in his work that he secluded himself for several years. In his isolation, he sought a way to transcend his mortal form, introducing the concept of the golden slumber. His people would follow along with these dreams, leading to the creation of the primal constructs. Additionally, this concept would result in a mysterious mechanism located at Kaj Nasut. If someone sat upon King Deshret's throne and recited a certain prayer, they would be allowed to enter the golden slumber. Now, as time went on, Deshret began to realize that his motivations were not truly out of benevolence for his people. Instead, he longed to return to the days where the three eternal companion gods ruled over the sands. Even with this realization, Deshret went on to find a way to separate his mind and body, achieving some success in his plans. In the end though, Deshret would end up sacrificing himself to save Sumeru from forbidden knowledge, marking his death. However, I don't believe that this is truly the end of King Deshret's story. Per their deal, Apep would consume Deshret's body after he died to gather his knowledge. However, they were corrupted due to the nature of the forbidden knowledge held by Deshret. Apep believed this to be a failsafe in Deshret's plan and that it was completely intentional. Either way, this was only King Deshret's body. As I said earlier, Deshret did end up finding a way to separate his mind and body. The body was swallowed by Apep after his supposed death, but what about his mind? Well, his mind could simply just reside within the golden slumber that he created. He could be living out his fantasy with Nabu Malikata and Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, just like he always dreamed of. However, this doesn't seem like something Deshret would be satisfied by. He was extremely ambitious, and even if he did remain in the golden slumber for some time, it would not be enough for him. In the end, Deshret may have decided to leave the golden slumber to try and make his fantasy a reality. So, if he left the golden slumber, where would he go and what would he look like? Well, I believe the answer lies within the cutscene that shows us his sacrifice. Here, the eye that represents him falls into a puddle and a purple crystal briefly splashes up. As many have pointed out, this purple crystal is very similar to the Sinner seen in the Kari Bear Archon quest. As such, Deshret could have used the forbidden knowledge to ascend beyond his mortal form, becoming known as a Sinner to Celestia. In fact, he could be the very Sinner we see in Kari Bear, or at least something like it. Now, in Kari Bear, there are a total of 6 chains that hold up the Sinner. In my opinion, this could tie back to the 7 sages of King Deshret. But hold on, if there were 7 sages, why are there only 6 chains? Well, Apep was one of the sages, but they never counted themselves as one of them. As such, the chains could each represent one of the sages minus Apep. So, if Deshret is in fact the Sinner seen in Kari Bear, why would he want to help Clothar and the Abyss Order? Well, as I said earlier, he would have been willing to defy the heavenly principles in order to achieve his goals. Additionally, he was definitely not afraid to use forbidden knowledge from beyond Teyvat. After Gurabad fell, he didn't want another similar event to happen again. He didn't want to see anyone suffer or age, and more importantly to him, he wanted to see his old friends again. With the knowledge that the Abyss Order wishes to overthrow the heavenly principles, he may have seen it as wise to assist them. He could believe that if Celestia was gone, Rukkhadevata and Nabu Malikata could both potentially return. After that, the 3 eternal companion gods could be reunited, and no one else would have to get hurt. Now, as for when he will be mentioned again, I'd say we have to wait until Dainsleif finally appears again. At the end of Kari Bear, Dainsleif had a thought as to who the Sinner was, but wanted to investigate more before confirming his thoughts to us. By the time we see him again, he could be ready to tell us who the Sinner was. If he is in fact King Deshret, that could allow for a lot of interesting storylines to be introduced. He could make an appearance again at some point, perhaps even meeting Nahida for the first time. It would be interesting to see if he was affected by the changes in Irminsul, and if he still remembers Greater Lord Rukkhadevata. Also, he could potentially meet with Apep again, though I don't think that conversation would end very well. Anyways, that's pretty much it from my thoughts on King Deshret and his potential for the future. If you want to know more about Sumeru's lore, I recommend my videos on Flower of Paradise Lost, Vorukash's Glow, and the rise and fall of Gurabad. I also plan on making a video like this about Nabu Malikata, as well as a lore video on the 7 cities of Sumeru. I would love to hear what ideas you all have for King Deshret in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.